For insight and analysis, let's call on Republican strategist Ford O'Connell, who joins us from Newsmax, Washington. Ford, the tenor and tone of that congressional hearing with the aforementioned Jonathan Gruber, what was your overall take on it?
Well, I don't think his apology was genuine. He's just sorry he got caught. He had two options when he walked in there: save his ego and his reputation, or try to save the law by distancing himself. He claimed he was some poor schlub. The only problem is he's the poor schlub whose economic model was the basis for the law as far back as 2007, as Barack Obama, who was then a senator, Harry Reid, and Nancy Pelosi have mentioned over and over. He tried to pull the old Potomac two-step. I really don't think anyone's buying it, but we're going to see what happens.
Well, we have been able to get in contact with our good friend on the left, way down in New Orleans, via telephone, Ellis Henican. Ellis, I don't know, since you're back in Louisiana, if you had a chance to watch part of that hearing involving Jonathan Gruber, but do you think Mr. Gruber's apology was genuine before the committee yesterday?
Well, listen, JD, and thank you for stalking me. I appreciate that.
We just had to track you down. We wanted to make sure you got your chance, Ellis.
So listen, yes, I did watch it, and listen, he's a guy who said something stupid. He's trying to get himself out of trouble. The same way, all of us do when we occasionally say something stupid. It's not remotely as big a deal as some of my friends on the right keep insisting. This is some guy who had an opinion about it, who did some research. He didn't invent Obamacare. Actually, that came out of some of those Republican think tanks. Your buddies were the ones who really invented the program.
And then later, upon further examination, stepped away from it. But I want to get to something here in this segment we need to listen to, because there are real consequences. It wasn't being glib. It wasn't being naive. Listen to Wyoming Congresswoman Cynthia Loomis. Then we'll ask for your reaction to this.
My husband was having chest pains at the time that he was told we were not enrolled in Obamacare, and come to find out, he didn't have all of the tests that he was advised by his physician to have. So, on October 24th, the week before election, my husband went to sleep and never woke up. There have been so many glitches in the passage and implementation of Obamacare that have real-life consequences on people's lives. And the so-called glibness that has been referenced today have direct consequences for real American people. So get over your damn glibness.
Ellis?
That is the lowest political argument you can make. Well, you're going to trot out some individual who has some individual problem. First of all,
so now you're attacking a widow for bringing up what she believes to be a concern.
JD, this is beneath you. You should not be making arguments like this. These are the same doctors who have been treating people who are licensed, who are connected to major hospitals. There is not a single change in the medical care in this country, and to try to politicize it like that is too low an argument for the opponents of Obamacare to make. Don't make an intelligent argument against it.
Fair enough, Ellis. Listen, Ford, I'm going to have to get your response on the other side. We'll come back and hear from Ford, and apparently Ellis is disappointed in me, but he'll recover. So will you. America's Forum continues. Let's continue the discussion. Republican strategist Ford O'Connell Skyping in from Washington, and our friend on the left, radio and TV commentator Ellis Henican, joining us by phone from New Orleans. Ford, you had some comments on this.
Well, I think that what Ellis is missing here is there are glitches, and this is going to happen, and real people are going to face effects. Forget the gotcha politics for a moment. I think my friends on the left misinterpret why the right is unhappy with Obamacare, because it goes to the role of government and the distribution of risk, which is what the Congresswoman was talking about, whether or not she blames Obamacare. And unfortunately, Obamacare is literally like the game Jenga. One more piece comes out of this thing, the whole thing's going to fall apart, and unfortunately, real people are going to suffer the consequences. And I think that that's what we need to focus on going forward.
Ellis, people in politics and certainly on the left talk about real-life experiences. You really sure you want to reconsider what you had to say about Congresswoman Loomis there?
Absolutely not. I want to double down. First of all, let's acknowledge, guys, that in any medical system there are glitches. Life isn't perfect, and it's tragic when bad things happen. And thankfully, we have a system, a legal system here where you sue people when bad stuff happens and you get some relief. But there's no perfect system. On the other hand, to try and use some individual human tragedy as a piece of cheap political rhetoric is beneath people like us. We ought to have this conversation based on how it is that we can serve the largest number of American people and get them the health care they deserve. You know, our system doesn't work very well. We have worse results than a whole lot of other nations, and we deserve better. And I don't want to just throw up my hands and say I trust the insurance companies and the drug companies to do it.
Oh, so you're going to trust government to do it. You're going to trust government, and look at what's happened.
Well, that's the problem, JD, is we've seen how the VA healthcare system works. It works terribly, and that's what we're moving closer to. And unfortunately, that's the problem. I have agreed with Ellis in the past that we do have to monitor the insurers and the hospitals, but once the government steps in, things always do not work as well, and we all know that. And for Ellis to say, my gosh, I can't believe the Republicans are playing for shame politics, this is something his side has been engaging in for years. So let's get beyond that. I do agree with Ellis, but who are we kidding ourselves, Ellis? This is what goes on in politics, sadly.
Let me give you one good comparison. You know what? There's terrible things about getting old, but one of the good things is Social Security. It is the best, most successful, and yes, government-run programs that has ever been invented in the history of this country. I just wish I were old enough to get it. Wouldn't we all be better off if we were in a system like that?
So Social Security, you
That's
say,
a false
should...
appeal, Ellis. And we all know that Social Security is about to drop in the toilet as soon as the baby boomers all reach 65. So let's be honest.
Ford,
you want to
Ford
talk
would
about a
not,
program
wouldn't
that you
you
say is
rather
working
have,
well,
would,
and it's
Ford,
eventually
rather
not going
have,
to work well because we're going to run out of money.
Wouldn't you rather have Medicare than private insurance, honestly? It's much better.
Absolutely not. My mother wants to get off Medicare. She
God,
hates
how
Medicare.
great.
She
Why
feels it's
don't
limiting.
she give me hers and I'll give her mine? How about that?
Well, you know what, Ellis? I think that in all honesty, if you ask most people if they can afford it, they would rather have the private care than Medicare. Medicare hamstrings you over tests. And again, it comes down to a distribution of risk. How old are you, and are we actually going to perform this surgery? Come on, Ellis. You're going to false appeal here, my friend.
Ellis, one more chance. Ellis, you sure you don't want to take back what you had to say about the widow from Wyoming who happens to be serving in Congress?
Oh, I feel terrible for anyone who has had human tragedy in her life. I'm sure the family is suffering, and the husband was probably a wonderful guy. But to try and use that to somehow blame Obamacare or hold the president responsible for the death of her husband, no, that is you ought to renounce that the same way that I am, J.D.
I will tell you, personal experiences do matter. I know that in politics and in broadcasting. Gentlemen, to you both, thanks for your time. And America's Forum will continue here on Newsmax TV following this time out.